The Galactic Military Academy stood like a mountain of glass and light on the planet Prime. Ships from 100 different worlds landed here every year, bringing the best young soldiers from across the galaxy. Only the elite could enter these gates. Only the strongest, and the most powerful species sent their children here. So when walked through the main entrance, everyone stopped to stare. She was small, shorter than almost every other species in the galaxy. Her skin was soft, without scales or armor. Her eyes were simple brown, without the ability to see heat or ultraviolet light. She had no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons of any kind. On her chest, she wore a small badge made of old bronze metal. It showed a simple image of a planet Earth, the of humanity. The badge was old and rusted, turning green at the edges. Other species called it the rusted badge and laughed whenever they saw it. Earth was considered a joke in the Galactic Union. Humans had only joined 300 years ago and they were still called provisional members. This meant they were not fully accepted, not truly equal. They were tolerated, nothing more. Walked through the orientation hall with her small bag over her shoulder. She kept her eyes forward and her face calm. She could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching her, judging her, dismissing her. A shadow fell over her path. She looked up and saw a blocking her way. His name was, and he was everything she was not. He stood over 2 meters tall. His body was covered in silver scales that could stop a knife. His eyes glowed with natural thermal vision. His species had conquered star systems while humans were still living in caves. Behind him stood his friends, a four-armed named Two Other and a being made of living crystal. Well, well, said, his voice filled with amusement. They actually sent a dirt dweller to our academy. His friends laughed. The sound was ugly and cruel. Did your people finally learn how to build a proper spaceship? Continued. Or did you just float here by accident? Said nothing, she simply waited. Stepped closer, using 2 of his 4 arms to gesture at her badge. Look at that thing. It is covered in rust, just like your entire species, old, weak, and falling apart. Tell me, human said, leaning down until his face was close to hers. What can your kind possibly offer this academy? You have no psionic powers, you cannot see in the dark, you cannot survive in vacuum, you cannot regenerate, you are soft, fragile, breakable. He poked her shoulder with one clawed finger. My people were building empires while yours was still figuring out fire. You do not belong here. Met his glowing eyes without fear. I need to get to my quarters, she said quietly. Please move. Blinked, surprised by her calm response. Then he laughed again. She has spirit, I will give her that, but spirit will not save you here, dirt dweller. This academy will crush you, and when it does, no one will care. He stepped aside with a mocking bow. Welcome to Prime, human. Enjoy your failure. Walked past them without another word. Her quarters were in the oldest part of the academy, far from the luxury rooms given to cadets from important worlds. The room was small and bare, just a bed, a desk, and a tiny window that looked out at the twin moons rising over the campus. She unpacked her few belongings slowly. A worn book about combat techniques, a small photograph of mountains on Earth, and at the bottom of her bag, wrapped in old cloth, a medal. She did not look at the medal, not yet. She simply tucked it under her pillow and sat down by the window. Outside, the academy grounds stretched for kilometers in every direction. Thousands of cadets from hundreds of species walked the paths below. They all had advantages that did not have. Better bodies, better technology, better starting positions. But had something they did not understand, something they could not see. She touched the rusted badge on her chest. Her grandmother had worn this same badge 60 years ago. Her grandmother had faced the same mockery, the same contempt, the same dismissal from species who thought humans were nothing. And her grandmother had proven them all wrong. Did not know if she could do the same. She did not know if she was strong enough, or smart enough, or tough enough. All she knew was that she had come too far to give up now. The twin moons rose higher in the sky. Somewhere out there, beyond countless light years of empty space, was a small blue planet that the galaxy had forgotten. A world of soft, fragile creatures who had no natural weapons, no special powers, no advantages of any kind. And yet somehow, those creatures had survived. They had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. They had survived everything their planet had thrown at them, and then they had reached up and touched the stars. The galaxy did not understand humans. They saw weakness where there was endurance. They saw fragility where there was flexibility. They saw primitiveness where there was potential. Let them laugh, thought. Let them mock. Let them underestimate. They would learn the truth eventually. Everyone always did. She lay down on her small bed and closed her eyes. Tomorrow, the real challenge would begin. Tomorrow, she would start proving that the rusted badge was not a mark of shame. It was a mark of survival. And humans were very, very good at surviving. The first week at the academy was designed to break cadets. The instructors wanted to destroy their pride and rebuild them as soldiers. For most cadets, this was the hardest thing they had ever experienced. For it was almost easy. The physical tests came first. Cadets had to run through obstacle courses built for species with wings or multiple arms or bodies made of stone. The instructors stood at the sides with cold faces, watching cadets struggle and fail and collapse. Was not the fastest. She was not the strongest. She could not fly over walls or climb with 4 arms or smash through barriers with crystal fists. But she finished. Every single time she finished. Other cadets gave up halfway through. They sat down, breathing hard, and waited for the instructors to carry them away, but kept going, step after step, breath after breath. She fell down and got back up. She bled and kept moving. She reached the end of every course, no matter how long it took. Found her at the water station one evening. His 4 arms were shaking with exhaustion. His normally bright eyes were dull with tiredness. How, he demanded. How are you still standing? You have nothing, no advantages, no enhancements, nothing. Took a long drink of water. Her muscles were screaming. Her lungs were burning. Every part of her body wanted to collapse. I just do not stop, she said simply. That is not an answer. She shrugged and walked away. The classroom tests were harder for her. Galactic history, alien biology, faster-than-light physics, these were things that other species had known for thousands of years, for they were completely new. She spent every free moment in the library. She read until her eyes could not focus anymore. She memorized facts and formulas and dates until her head hurt. She asked questions that made other cadets laugh at her ignorance. But she learned, slowly, painfully she learned. Made sure to remind her of her failures at every opportunity. 3rd from the bottom in navigation class, he announced loudly in the dining hall one day. He held up a display showing everyone's scores. The mighty human is almost the worst in the entire academy. Only a blind and a drifter without hands scored lower. His friends laughed. Other cadets looked away, embarrassed or simply not caring. Continued eating her meal. The food was strange and tasteless, designed for dozens of different species, but she ate it anyway. Her body needed fuel. Leaned close to her, his breath hot against her ear. My people built empires while yours was still learning to walk upright. You do not belong here, dirt dweller. Everyone knows it. Even the instructors know it. He was not wrong about the instructors. Most of them barely noticed existed. One instructor, a named commander, had openly asked why the academy was wasting resources on charity cases from backward worlds. But there was one instructor who treated her differently. Senior Instructor ran the combat training program. He was humanoid, with weathered skin and gray-streaked black hair. No one knew exactly what species he was. He never talked about his past. He simply taught, with a quiet intensity that made even senior cadets nervous. He never mocked, he never praised her either, but sometimes during training she caught him watching her with a strange expression, like he was seeing something that no one else could see. At the end of the second week, the official rankings were posted on the main display board. Was ranked 847th out of 900 cadets. Was ranked 23rd. He walked past her in the corridor, a satisfied smile on his scaled face. Do not worry, human. No one expected anything from you anyway. I am actually impressed that you have not quit yet. Most dirt dwellers would have given up by now. Said nothing. She walked to her quarters and closed the door. That night she sat on her bed and looked at the medal hidden under her pillow. She still did not take it out. She was not ready to look at it yet, but she held her hand over it, feeling its shape through the thin fabric. Her grandmother had faced the same contempt, the same mockery, the same assumption that humans were worthless, and her grandmother had proven them all wrong. But her grandmother had been a hero, a legend, was just a small girl from Earth with no special talents and no powerful friends. Could she really follow in those footsteps? She did not know, but she knew one thing for certain. She was not going to quit. Humans did not quit. That was the one advantage they had, the one thing that other species could not understand. Humans did not know how to give up. They kept fighting long after any reasonable creature would have surrendered. They kept hopping long after any logical mind would have accepted defeat. It was not strength. It was not intelligence. It was something deeper, something that had kept humanity alive through ice ages and plagues and wars. Stubbornness, pure, unreasonable, impossible stubbornness. Lay down and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would bring more mockery, more failure, more contempt from species who thought she was nothing. But tomorrow would also bring another chance to prove them wrong. And that was enough. For now, that was enough. The midterm test was not an exam, it was a war. The Academy called it a survival scenario. 900 cadets were divided into two teams, defenders and attackers. The defenders had to hold a space station against an army that wanted to destroy them. The attackers had to break through and capture the station. It was meant to simulate real combat, real fear, real chaos. Was assigned to the defenders, so was. Perfect, muttered when he saw the team list. Now I have to carry dead weight. The scenario started at dawn. Within 3 hours, the defenders were losing badly. The attacking team was led by senior cadets with years of experience. They moved like a perfect machine, breaking through every defense, destroying every strategy. Cadets fell one by one, hit by training weapons that knocked them unconscious. By midday, only 47 defenders were left. They were trapped in the command center of the station, surrounded on all sides by enemies. Was there. This is hopeless, said. His forearms were wrapped around himself, his voice was shaking. We should surrender, accept defeat. Surrender, growled. Never, I will not lose to those attackers. Then what do you want to do? We are outnumbered 10-1. They have us trapped. While they argued, moved quietly to the tactical display. She studied the map of the station, every corridor, every ventilation shaft, every maintenance tunnel. There, she said softly. No one heard her. I said there, she spoke louder this time. Turned annoyed. What are you talking about? The attackers have heat vision, but they cannot handle sudden temperature changes. They have strong scales, but their joints are weak. The maintenance tunnels connect to the cooling system. If we change the temperature in different areas, we can force them into small spaces where their advantages do not matter. Silence filled the room. Blinked all 6 of his eyes. That is actually not stupid. It is crazy, said. You want us to fight in tiny tunnels. We cannot use our weapons properly in there. And neither can they, replied. In tight spaces, their size becomes a problem. My size becomes an advantage." She looked at the other defenders. Most were injured. All were exhausted. None of them believed they could win. "I will go alone," said. "I will create a distraction. I will slow them down. You use that time to regroup and attack from behind." "You will be finished in minutes," said. "They will knock you out before you can do anything useful." "Maybe," checked her training weapon. "Or maybe I will show everyone why Earth has never been conquered." She disappeared into the maintenance shaft before anyone could stop her. What happened next became a legend at the Academy. Moved through the dark tunnels like a ghost, she knew she could not win a direct fight. She was too small, too weak, too slow, so she did not try to fight directly. Instead, she fought like her ancestors had fought for thousands of years. She set traps. She changed the temperature in different sections, making the tunnels freezing cold or burning hot. She created false signals to confuse the attackers. When they chased her, she led them into dead ends and ambushes. She did not try to defeat them. She just tried to slow them down, frustrate them, make them waste time and energy chasing shadows. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. The attackers grew angry. They sent more soldiers into the tunnels, led them in circles. She appeared behind them and disappeared before they could react. She was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. Her body was screaming in pain. Her lungs were burning. She had been crawling through dirty tunnels for what felt like forever, but she did not stop. She could not stop. 7 hours. She held them off for 7 hours, alone. Meanwhile, the other defenders had regrouped. They launched a surprise attack that no one expected. By the time the scenario ended, the defenders had achieved something impossible: a draw. It was the first draw in Academy history. Crawled out of the tunnels covered in dirt and sweat. She could barely stand. Her training weapon was empty. Her uniform was torn. But she was still conscious, still standing. The combat logs showed that she had personally defeated 31 attackers. 31. More than all the other top-ranked cadets combined. In the debriefing room, Commander stared at the numbers in disbelief. This must be a mistake. One human cadet eliminated 31 opponents. Impossible. Senior Instructor stood in the corner, his arms crossed. His face showed no emotion, but something had changed in his eyes. "No mistake," he said quietly. "That is exactly what happened." For the first time, the other cadets looked at differently. Not with respect, not yet, but with something new, something that might eventually become fear. Watched her from across the room. His face was impossible to read. He had called her dead weight. He had said she would be finished in minutes. She had outlasted everyone. Walked back to her quarters alone. Her whole body ached. She wanted to sleep for a week. But for the first time since arriving at the Academy, she allowed herself a small smile. Let them underestimate her. Let them think she was weak. She had just shown the entire galaxy what a single human could do. And this was only the beginning. The war game changed everything for her, but not in a good way. Stopped laughing at her. Instead, he started hating her. He could not accept that a human had done better than him, so he told himself that she had cheated, that the simulation was broken, that the Academy was giving special treatment to Earth. "They are trying to make humans look good," he told anyone who would listen. "Political pressure from the Union Council. They want to pretend that dirt dwellers are not the embarrassment everyone knows they are." But other cadets were not so sure. The combat logs were clear. Had done what no one thought possible, not with strength, not with technology, just with pure, stubborn endurance. 3 months into the Academy year, a memorial ceremony was held in the Grand Hall. The ceremony honored soldiers who had died fighting for the Galactic Union. Holographic images showed battlefields and heroes from 1,000 different worlds. Names scrolled across giant screens. Faces of the fallen looked down at the assembled cadets. There was no mention of Earth. No mention of humans at all. Stood in the back of the hall, her face showing nothing. But inside, something was burning. After the ceremony, she went to the archive terminal in the library. She had questions that had been growing in her mind for weeks. Search query, she said to the computer. Battle of station, human involvement. The terminal made a soft sound. No records found. Search query, Operation Crimson Dawn, human casualties. No records found. Search query, Last stand of Helix 7. A long pause, then, records classified, special authorization required. His hands tightened into fists. She did not hear Senior Instructor approach until he spoke. Looking for something specific, cadet. She turned quickly. Sir, I was just doing research. His eyes moved to the screen. Helix 7, that is not in any class material. No, sir, it is not in any public record either. She paused. But my grandmother mentioned it once before she died. She said that Earth paid for its place in the Union, paid with blood, but no one remembers. Was silent for a long moment. Then he reached past her and entered a code into the terminal. Authorization granted, the computer said, displaying classified records. The screen came to life, with images and words that had been hidden from the galaxy for 60 years. The Battle of Helix 7. A Union border station was under attack. The enemy outnumbered the defenders 500 to 1. The station protected important supply routes for 3 Allied star systems. If it fell, millions would suffer. Reinforcements were 6 days away. The only defenders were 5,000 human soldiers from Earth. They had been sent because no other species wanted the job. Everyone knew Helix 7 was a death sentence. They held for 8 days. 8 days against impossible odds. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found the station still standing. But 4,847 human soldiers were dead. The 153 survivors had prepared to destroy the entire station rather than surrender. They were about to trigger the explosion when the rescue fleet appeared. The records showed medals and honors, official statements about extraordinary courage. And then, 60 years later, a single note. Records reclassified, memorial status removed, species-specific heroics deemed inconsistent with Union message of shared achievement. They had erased it. All of it. Because Earth's sacrifice made other species uncomfortable. Because humans had done what superior species could not do. Because it was easier to forget than to admit that the weak, primitive species had proven everyone wrong. Stared at the screen until tears blurred her vision. My grandmother, she whispered. She was one of the 153. Nodded slowly. I know. How do you know that? He reached into his uniform and pulled out something small and metal. A medal, exactly like the one hidden under his pillow. Because my grandmother was one of the 153 too. Looked at him, really looked for the first time. His features, his build, his eyes. Human, he was human. But the Academy records say you are. I know what they say, interrupted. When you are from Earth, sometimes you have to become someone else to get anywhere. I changed my name. I changed my records. I did what I had to do. He placed the medal in her hand. You do not have to hide what you are, but you should understand what you are fighting against. Other species. No, shook his head. You are fighting against a galaxy that wants to forget that humanity ever mattered. They erased our heroes. They buried our sacrifices. They want us to believe that we are worthless so that we will never challenge them. He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. The final evaluation is in 2 weeks. Single combat. Every cadet against every other cadet. He looked back at her. I think it is time the galaxy remembered what humans can do. Sir called after him. Why are you telling me this? Why now? Smiled, the first smile she had ever seen on his face. Because your grandmother saved my grandmother's life at Helix 7. She carried her through enemy fire for 3 kilometers with 2 broken legs, and I have waited my whole life to repay that debt. He walked away, leaving alone with the medal in her hand and 60 years of hidden history glowing on the screen. She looked at the faces of the fallen, 5,000 humans who had given everything. The galaxy had tried to erase them, but would make sure they were remembered, no matter what it cost her. The final evaluation took place in the Proving Grounds, a massive arena where cadets fought one-on-one to show everything they had learned. All 900 cadets were there, all watching, all waiting. The matches started with the lowest-ranked cadets. Winners moved forward, losers were eliminated. His first opponent was twice her size. The huge creature charged at her with confidence. It expected an easy victory. 43 seconds later, it was unconscious on the ground. Had noticed that the eyes were sensitive to bright light. She used her uniform badge to reflect light into its face, blinding it for just a moment. That moment was all she needed. Her second opponent was a Shardborn, a being made of living crystal that could heal from most injuries. Most cadets did not know how to fight something that could put itself back together. She had spent weeks in the library, studying every species. She knew that Shardborn had a central core that controlled their regeneration. She found it and shattered it before the creature could adapt. Third match, fourth match, fifth match. She kept winning. The arena grew quiet. The laughter stopped. The mockery disappeared. 900 cadets watched in silence as the smallest person in the academy destroyed opponent after opponent. By the semifinals, had climbed from 847th place to the top 8. She faced in a brutal match that lasted 12 minutes. He had 4 arms and years of training. She had 2 arms and endless determination. She won by locking his joints in a position that none of his 4 arms could escape. The finals came down to 2 cadets. And the arena fell completely silent as they faced each other across the fighting ring. Silver scales shone under the bright lights. He was 2 meters tall, trained from birth in ancient fighting arts, ranked among the best cadets the academy had seen in 50 years. Looked exactly like she had on the first day. Small, plain, wearing a rusted badge on her chest. "You know you cannot win," said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were angry. "Your tricks worked against weaker opponents, but I have studied how you fight. I know your weaknesses. You are human. You break." Did not answer. She raised her hands in a fighting position, a stance that had never seen before. The match began. Attacked with all his strength. His arms were longer. His body was stronger. His scales protected him from her strikes. He drove her back across the ring, leaving small cuts on her arms with his claws. But she did not fall. Every time he knocked her down, she got back up. Every time he pressed forward, she slipped away. She did not try to overpower him. She just kept moving, keep dodging, keep surviving. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. His breathing grew heavy. His attacks grew slower. His body was not built for long fights. He was designed for quick, powerful victories, not extended battles of endurance. And kept coming. "What are you?" he gasped between breaths. "I am human," she said. "We do not know how to quit." She moved. A single strike to a spot at the base of his skull, the one place where scales did not grow. A technique passed down in her family for 4 generations. Collapsed. The arena was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, Senior Instructor began walking down from the observation area. Every eye in the arena followed him. He walked to the center of the ring where stood, covered in sweat and blood but still standing. And then, in front of 900 cadets, all the instructors, and the academy commandant himself, Senior Instructor lowered his head in a deep bow. "It is an honor," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, to serve alongside the granddaughter of Captain Park, hero of Helix 7, one of the 153 who held the line when no one else would. He turned to face the silent crowd. The Union erased Earth's sacrifice because it was easier than admitting the truth. Humans, soft, fragile, primitive humans, did what our advanced species could not do. They held a station against impossible odds, not because they had better weapons or natural powers, but because they refused to lose. He activated the arena's main display. Classified records appeared on every screen. The truth about Helix 7 was finally revealed to everyone. This cadet carries the blood of legends, continued. Today she has proven that the spirit of Helix 7 did not die with her grandmother. It lives on, in every human who refuses to surrender, in every Terran who stands when the galaxy tells them to kneel. He removed his own badge, the fake one he had worn for decades, and let it fall to the ground. Beneath it was another badge, a rusted bronze circle showing Earth. I have hidden what I am for 30 years, he said, but I think it is time to stop hiding. The commandant rose from his seat. He was old, with scars that told stories of many battles. He walked down to the arena floor. I was at Helix 7, he said quietly. I was a young officer on the rescue fleet. I saw what those 153 soldiers did. I have wondered for 60 years if there would ever be others like them. He extended his hand, too, a gesture of respect that his species rarely gave anyone. Welcome to the Academy, Cadet, truly welcome. Took his hand, her grip was firm. Then the applause started. It began with clapping all 4 hands together. Others joined, then more, until the entire arena thundered with the sound of 900 cadets recognizing something they had never expected to see. A human had beaten them all. Looked at the rusted badge on her chest. She had carried her grandmother's legacy across the stars. She had faced their contempt and their cruelty and their attempts to erase her people from history. And she had won. Not just for herself, for the 4,847 who died at Helix 7, for the 153 who survived, for every human who had ever been told they were worthless. The galaxy had tried to forget humanity. Now they would remember. Forever,